Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for joining us today for our 10th in the series, Fundraising During the Coronavirus Pandemic. We really appreciate you joining us. Today, we're going to talk about takeaways from 2020 and what to expect in 2021. We are joined, it's an honor and privilege to have Kelly Dunkin from Community First Foundation join us today. Thank you, Kelly, so much for joining us for this webinar. Really exciting topic, really pressing topic, so important. So thank you for joining us, Kelly.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's really my honor and privilege to be with all of you. And as with every webinar, I'm sure I'm going to walk away learning just as much as everyone else on the webinar. So appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely. We look forward to learning a lot from you. So just a quick note, few quick notes before we get started here. Please submit your questions through the Q&A feature, not the chat box, through the Q&A feature. And please ask questions and please provide comments. We consider this a learning experience. We want to learn from you as much as you can learn from us. But if we can really share and co-create ideas around best practices for fundraising for 2021, all the better. So please share what you're doing in terms of fundraising and what you experienced in 2020. We'd love to hear from you. There's an upvote feature, and that's that thumbs up. So hit that upvote feature. If you see a question that you really like, and I'll populate the question at the top. So the more upvotes for questions, the more at the top. So see a question you like, or it's a question you were going to ask, you can just hit that thumbs up upvote feature, and it'll pop to the top. And then the chat box, we will put in some links, and as people, you can put in links in the chat box. So use the chat box if you have a link or something you want others to see, and we'll certainly use that as well. This is being recorded, and we will send it out to everybody in the next few days. And I'm not at home. My bandwidth wasn't working at home, so I had to run in the office, as you can see behind me. So no dogs barking and children screaming on this end, but that would be happening for sure. and then, if you have tech issues, we'll try to resolve them. Janelle is on standby, but I don't know if we can solve all tech issues. So hopefully you can hear me. You can see us. You can hear us all okay. And we'll jump right in. And I'm going to try to block that sun glare there. All right. So today we'll just we'll take that look back at 2020. We'll take a look at Colorado Gives Day 2020. A lot happened there. A lot of exciting success for Colorado Gives Day 2020. We'll look at what worked for Colorado Gives Day, kind of those stories to success, those keys to success. And then look at what we're seeing for 2021, kind of those projections, what you can do to think about fundraising as you move into 2020. And then we'll jump into our Q&A. And again, please, questions, please keep them coming. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. And we want to hear your comments again. Let us know what you're seeing and what you experienced in 2020 and what you think for 2021. So, Kelly, again, great to have you. Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us again. And what's going on in your world? What's happening? Can you just give us a little update since when we last had you on?
Yeah. So really excited to be back. I see a lot of familiar names in the participants. So thank you so much for joining. One of the big things that's new in our world is Community First Foundation completed a strategic plan in 2019, and we're getting to roll that out. I'm sorry, we completed it in 2020. We're getting to roll it out in 2021. I'm getting my years confused. And would love just the opportunity to share with you, we have redefined and reinvigorated our purpose, which is really together, making good possible. And so as a community foundation, we're bullish on that word together. We need partners to help achieve anything that we plan to do. And we also use the word good intentionally because we're not defining what that good is. We intend to work with the community to define what good looks like for them. And then as a community foundation, we have decided that our geographic focus is going to be Jeffco with all of our discretionary resources. And that doesn't mean that we're going to be absent from regional or statewide conversations. We absolutely will be a part of those. But with our discretionary resources and grant making, we're going to focus on Jeffco because our vision is that all communities in Jeffco have the opportunity to thrive. And use that word opportunity intentionally again, because it's really at the heart of equity. And we want to make sure that whatever someone defines as their community, whether it's their neighborhood, whether it's a community of individuals who have similar struggles around mental illness, or a community that goes to a particular school, we want to make sure all of those communities can thrive. And then we're looking forward to achieving our mission around achieving the extraordinary by activating people, ideas, and resources. So for those who don't know us, one of the programs we have is Colorado Gives, and I'm excited to talk to you about Colorado Gives Day, what it did, as well as what the platform did the other 364 days of the year. So really looking forward to this conversation, and would just echo what Matt was saying. Your comments, your questions, your suggestions are going to be probably more important and more poignant than anything I'm going to share. So thanks for having me and looking forward to the conversation.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelly. Me too. More important than what I'll share. So we will really want to hear from you. And wow, what a lot going on at the Community First Foundation. That's great. Really, with the new strategic plan, what you're doing is very exciting. So I'm sure it'll be tremendous impact on the community. So thank you for all that hard work. So I'll jump in real quick to fundraising results from 2020. They're a lot stronger than anyone expected. I think, going into 2019, the early days, we were expecting, another good year. The economy was strong. COVID hit, everything stopped. Q2, fundraising was way down. And then it just shot up in Q3. Really impressive how donors really stepped up to solve a lot of our problems and what was taking place. Just a quick overview, giving, it was up in Q1, Q2, I think it was towards the end of Q2 that giving started to really rise, but all quarters were up over 2019, which is just tremendous. It's amazing. New donor acquisition up 11.4%. We haven't seen rise in donor acquisition. There's just these small marginal rises over the last, few years, and 11.4% is really just a tremendous increase. And then donations, just the gifts that were coming in, were up 7.6%. So again, a really strong rise there. The most impressive and the really thing to key on is that people of, I think, all economic means were really stepping up, and the gifts that are under 250 were up 17%. So it was really these results in giving were what I like to call democratized fundraising, and everybody came in and stepped up to really support organizations and the community. And these are all from the Fundraising Effectiveness Project, these numbers. If you haven't checked that out, you can just, we can chat that URL, the Fundraising Effectiveness Project. They are in partnership with Association of Fundraising Professionals. They put out a fundraising report every quarter. So we haven't gotten the fourth quarter numbers yet, but again, quarter 1, 2, 3, really strong, really impressive. And then some other things like Fidelity Charitable had some really interesting numbers on institutional foundation granting going up, and DAF fundraising increased. They hit somewhere up around 30%. So donor advised fund, people giving more money out of their donor advised fund, went up 30%. So it was really heartening to see this, the community coming together, everybody just giving more, reaching deeper to help us during this incredible time of need. Giving Tuesday, again, went up 25%. I mean, that's phenomenal. And that was there was 2 Giving Tuesdays. These are the results from the one in November. So 25% increase, unheard of, doesn't happen year after year. and then 29% increase in the number of donations compared to 2019. So again, this year-end giving, not reported in the fundraising effectiveness project, is kind of demonstrated through, as we saw with Giving Tuesday. And now Kelly's going to talk about Colorado Gives Day, which also went through the roof.
Yeah. So really quick, Colorado Gives Day, one day philanthropic event to really support nonprofits in Colorado who are on the coloradogives.org platform. And our best year to date was 39.6 million raised on Colorado Gives Day. In 2020, we saw $50 million raised by and for Colorado nonprofits and Colorado Gives Day. So just absolutely astounding. We had thought we were maybe going to do between 40 and 45 million. And as the ticker was going up on the day and we saw it going up and up and up, we were thrilled and absolutely grateful for all of the donors in Colorado who really stepped up to make that 50 million possible. And we saw that 50 million came in through about 225,000 donations, and just about every nonprofit on the site got a donation. So we have just under 2,900 who are on the site, and you'll see that donations were made to 2,828 nonprofits. So just about every single one of them got a donation. And then we recognized with the impacts that COVID was having on the society, on individuals losing their jobs or being furloughed, that people would want to participate, but we didn't want the minimum donation to be a barrier. So we lowered that minimum donation to $5. So we saw ranges from $5 to $200,000 in donations that were made to nonprofits. And just a couple of other interesting tidbits that we saw. So if your nonprofit is on the site, you know that your donors have the opportunity to create a fundraising page for you and get that fundraising page out to their networks to raise more money. We saw that there were about 1,300 fundraising pages that received donations during Colorado Gives Day, and the total that they received was $2.6 million. So this is nothing to sneeze at. These fundraising pages were working. We also noticed, so as you're checking out of Colorado Gives, you have the option to make your donation in honor or in memory of someone. And we saw a huge jump. We saw that that $4.5 million was donated in honor or in memory of someone. So we think that there's something there. So in total, if you take those two numbers together, it's about $7 million. That's 14% of the total that was raised. And it was donated by people who see Colorado Gives Day as a way to either celebrate the causes that they care about through fundraising pages, or to honor the people that they love through donations made in honor of or in memory of someone. So we think this could represent a significant demographic that we could target for year-round, or even convert to recurring giving and maybe even some planned giving for the causes that they care about. We also know when we looked across the nation, most people do their Gives Day before we do. We do ours in December. Most of the other Gives Day happen earlier in the year. And I'll just call out two: Miami and North Texas both saw a 25% increase in their giving on their Gives Day. So we thought that was a good harbinger for us. We actually exceeded what we even thought was going to be possible. And we have some theories about why it was such a great day. So the first is obviously the impact of COVID and people really wanting to step up and help the community. We also think that some donations that may have occurred in-person fundraising events converted to being made on Colorado Gives Day. And then finally, some people had more discretionary income. They weren't able to travel. They weren't able to go out as much. So they may be using some of that income to make donations rather than on some of those leisure or entertainment that they did in the past. So that's what Colorado Gives Day. I wanted to give a huge shout out to all of you on this webinar who were part of it. We were intentional about saying that the money was raised for and by the nonprofits, because we know that the nonprofits are really the best marketing engine we could have for Colorado Gives Day, and they get the word out about the day and they mobilize their donors. So thank you very much for making it a record-setting year.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. Congratulations on all this success, and congratulations to to all our nonprofits out there that had a strong Colorado Gives Day and probably a strong end of year giving, but really need statistics or data. I mean, especially around the giving pages and giving in honor. And I think, as you said, things to really look for and how that's gonna change and maybe build over the next year. So exciting stuff. So Kelly, can you tell us just, what did you see as the keys for success during Colorado Gives Day? What kind of separated the really strong campaigns? And, what did they do? What were those activities or those strategies that took place?
Yeah, so I think marketing and getting the word out is really, really critical. And those fundraising pages, so really engaging donors was particularly effective, as we noted. 2.6 million raised through those fundraising pages. I think it was also about making the case that a donor's funding would actually create impact. So not just saying we have a need, but talking about what you're contributing to, how it would meet the need and the difference it would make for the nonprofit and the individuals or causes that they were serving. We also tried a couple of things this Colorado Gives Day. Like most of us going into Colorado Gives Day earlier in 2020, we were worried. We had a pretty contentious political environment, if you'll recall. So we knew that people were going to be giving to political causes. So we weren't sure if that was going to take away from Colorado Gives Day. We also worried that donors really stepped up earlier in the year. So the Colorado Gives platform runs 364 days a year, and we saw giving up 100% year over year throughout the year. So we also were a little worried maybe there'd be some donor fatigue or COVID fatigue, people already given, not having more to give. Luckily, none of those things played out. But in response to those worries, we tried a couple of things. One, we started to think about how we could grow the incentive fund. So, we have an incentive fund that boosts every donation made on Colorado Gives Day, and we engaged some different partners in contributing to the incentive fund. So in addition to contributing to the incentive fund, they also became marketers. They got the word out to networks that we might not have been able to reach in the past. And in some cases, they had existing ad buys that they just went ahead and donated to Colorado Gives Day. So that was their contribution, which was really fantastic. We also prototyped a way for donor advised fund holders from other community foundations to participate in Colorado Gives Day. And we haven't really combed through all that data to see how it worked, but just anecdotally, it seems like it was pretty effective. And we're thinking about how we can roll that out to maybe even the Fidelities, the Schwabs, the institutional DAF holders as well in 2021. And then finally, and this is what you're going to see in just a minute, we provided more robust marketing tools for nonprofits. We had Spanish language and donor ambassador toolkits. So you could really give to your donors. This is how you get people engaged. This is what it means. We also piloted Storyvine, which is an easy video storytelling tool. And then we do coffee chats every month for Colorado Gives, and we did several training on how you can market Colorado Gives Day. So we tried all those things, and we absolutely think that it helped. And then our media sponsors. So if anyone is looking for what media sponsor is absolutely terrific, let me put in a plug for Denver 7. They have been an absolute fabulous media partner, and they started pushing stories and a call to action to schedule your donations, to make your donations in November. So they really did a huge lead time getting the word out, and then that constant drumbeat of this is why it's important and this is how you can do it. We also saw really good coverage from other media stations. So even though Denver 7 is our paid media sponsor, we saw huge coverage from those other media stations, and that absolutely helped. And then First Bank. So First Bank is our partner, our corporate sponsor, our corporate partner for Colorado Gives Day. And their ads, if you saw them, they're super quirky and interesting. And I think they helped appeal to an audience that we weren't getting through the other media channels. So they were also absolutely helpful. And then finally, I've said this before, and I'll just underline it, you, nonprofits, are absolutely our best marketers. You get the word out to their donor, and then you make your donors ambassadors to get the words out to their network. And so I think now we're going to show you some of the Storyvine videos that really worked as a great call to action. So the first one here is we had the opportunity, we were getting a lot of videos. Nonprofits were taking full advantage of Storyvine. And we took the opportunity to make a compilation video. So it's not just one particular nonprofit, but really the call to action to support the nonprofit sector in general on Colorado Gives Day. And we took those key messages that we were hearing over and over again through the individual Storyvine videos and pulled them all into one particular video. So I'm going to stop talking and let the video do the talking for me.
We couldn't do what we do without you. And now more than ever, we need your support.
We're down 68% in financial funding. And regardless about anything else that's going on or anything else that's been donated to our program, we still have to feed our canines and we still have to medically care for them.
Because two of our major fundraisers are operating at decreased capacity, we need donations to help compensate for this loss of funds.
So we need two different things. We need volunteers to come pack our meals, and we also need donations to fund our meals. Our meals are 25 cents a meal, so every $10 donation funds 40 meals.
What the World Affairs Challenge needs most right now is your financial support, your monthly donation. It doesn't matter the amount. It can be 15, 10, $5 a month, and that will help a lot.
What DSSC needs the most right now is patience, grace, and support.
With the right research, education, and advocacy, we can end child abuse and neglect, but we need your help. This Colorado Gives Day, we're asking you to join us with a donation of any size.
Great video. Very powerful. That Storyvine is such a cool platform. The way that you can just build a story through your phone.
Yeah, they make it so easy. And so if any of the nonprofits on the call were part of that video, thank you. You really helped create a powerful message.
Yeah, very powerful. So we're just going to look at Stride Community Health Center, which is one of our clients and had a great Colorado Gives Day. And this is a video they put together. So I'll show this now.
Hi, I'm Claudia Fry-Grant, and I'm a Stride employee. And our mission is to provide medical, dental, behavioral health to the community. We don't care who you are, where you're from, and if you have health insurance or not, we will provide excellent health care to you. With healthcare being so essential, we are on the front line with COVID-19. We have testing centers throughout the community to test patients, or if you're not a patient, we'll still test you no matter what. All hands are on deck with COVID testing and screenings. Stride employees are taking on different job duties due to the pandemic challenges in the Denver metro area. We want to get the word out that we are here to support the community. The more support that we receive, the more we can help during this pandemic.
That's great. Stride, of course, on the front lines of this COVID crisis, but great video from Claudia, great testimonial, and just demonstrating the impacts is so important. And I think that's a good segue to looking at 2021 and the trends and how some strategies that we can use. So just kind of wanted to open it up, and Kelly, we can talk about kind of different areas of fundraising and ways, but what you see in 2021, and maybe we can first talk about digital and just we talked about videos, but other things that to really prepare for 2021 and to connect with your donor base and your audience.
Yeah, I think we're all hopeful that the vaccine rollout will speed up. We'll have more vaccines, we'll have more people vaccinated, we can create that herd immunity, and begin to resume in-person events and working in person. But until then, I think we're still going to be remote and working virtually. And I think it's still important to make sure that we're connecting with donors. So making sure that we're thanking donors who have contributed, making sure that we're getting in front of donors with opportunities that we think will appeal to them and to the causes that they want to give to. So I don't think digital's going anywhere. In fact, I think based on our experience with the pandemic, we're going to see more and more with digital. And I did notice, I just want to quickly address this, and it feeds into the digital. Someone had asked, with our focus on Jeffco, will we limit Colorado Gives? And absolutely not. Colorado Gives platform will remain statewide and will continue to be a resource for donors to connect with nonprofits throughout the state. And we just made a new hire. She starts next Monday, a VP of product development for Colorado Gives. So recognizing the importance of digital in fundraising, we're really going to build out and re-energize all our work on Colorado Gives so that it becomes both a tool for the donors who want to use it, as well as the nonprofits. How can we do more to support the nonprofits who are on the site? So that's something we're doing. And if people have specific ideas of ways we could be more helpful to nonprofits, please reach out and let us know, because you know better than us what you're facing and how the platform can be even more helpful to the work that you're doing.
Great. You did so much just last year, and all these new tools and endeavors, and hear that you've got this VP of product development to really take Colorado Gives Day and the year-round platform to the next level. Very impressive, and look forward to seeing what will come. And as Kelly said, if you have ideas, let her know, and we can even if you want to put that in the Q&A or anything you'd like to see, or again, what worked for you for year-end giving or Colorado Gives Day. Don't be shy. You can add that to the Q&A or any questions on what you want to see for next year. I think digital is so important right now. The COVID pandemic certainly accelerated the need for it. I think those organizations that were already looking at digital ways of engaging donors absolutely had an advantage, and were able to really capitalize on their fundraising. But I see it just accelerating even more over the next years, and really urge organizations to get in the space and really think about how you're engaging your audience and your donors through different digital means and digital types. Not to be afraid. There's a lot of organizations doing it. There's a lot of success cases. You can take those calculated risks, but again, it's absolutely critical, and it's just we're in the digital age. I've said it before, and it's just going to continue. And I think the other thing was those organizations that are able to fundraise year round, and if outside of just doing an event, maybe Colorado Gives Day, that can really create fundraising all year round and opportunities for donors to engage. And Kelly, as you said earlier, it's that message of impact and really demonstrating that impact, and how we've talked about it before. There's the organizations on the front lines, and of course they have amazing, they're have the most impact during these times, but every organization, whether it's arts or what have you, has an impact on people's lives, and it's just helping people live better lives. So I think every organization has a message of impact to share, and just make sure you're sharing those things. Kelly, what are you seeing in terms of endowments? We had David Miller on earlier, and he talked about endowments and the importance of them to really that legacy and sustainability. But during these times when we see a financial crisis, people really back off from endowments.
Yeah, so we're seeing that, and we're seeing some nonprofits want to take some extraordinary distributions, excuse me, from their endowment now to help them keep afloat during these times. So based on what we're hearing from nonprofits is very few are interested right now in locking up money in perpetuity, and we get that. So we're offering some funds. They are long-term non-permanently restricted designated funds, so designated to the organization that opens them, that people can put that money in for the long-term view, but they don't have to permanently restrict it. And we have the administrative and financial experience and professionalism to really help those nonprofits invest those funds in a way that would be more difficult for them to do on their own, and get a really low administrative overhead. So if you're interested in a non-permanently restricted endowment, sort of that long-term designated fund, reach out to us. We've done it for 2 organizations so far and are looking at how we can continue to build that out in order to meet the needs of nonprofits.
Excellent. That's great. To have that place where organizations can have that, that are too small to administer themselves, which are so many, because you really need a back end shop to administer an endowment or a quasi endowment, where it's not, where you can spend it down. It's so critical. So thank you for doing that.
The other thing that we're offering with that fund, so we pool the funds into one large fund, so you get that economies of scale. And we're also, we've employed ESG, environmental, social, and governance screens on many of the investments we're making out of that fund. So we're sort of marrying your mission with the way that we're investing those funds.
Great. Even more important to mission-minded investments. Along the same line, donor advised funds, controversial to say the least, but really important for donors and a place for donors to think strategically about their giving. What are you seeing for 2021 for donor advised funds?
Well, I think you hit on one thing. Every year comes talk of regulation of donor advised funds, and they are very controversial. So we'll keep monitoring whether they're going to get regulated. But we also see they're a really great vehicle for certain individuals. So there's not a lot of tax benefits for DAFs in the CARES Fund legislation. So that is not a pro towards creating a DAF, but there's still an easy giving option for many. And someone who's going to have a liquidity event, it's a great option to minimize their tax burden and create that long-term charitable giving account. And I know people are always worried that money is going to get locked up and it's not going to get out to the community. So I pulled from our existing donor advised fund holders this year, and we saw giving triple in 2020. So our DAF holders are recognizing the need, they're recognizing the reason they created this fund, and they're getting the money out the door to the nonprofits. I noticed someone was asking where the money was going, and I can talk about our donor advised fund holders. In 2019, the top areas were healthcare and education. And then in 2020, we saw the top areas being human services, healthcare, education, and food. And even when we looked at Colorado Gives over the year, we saw that human services, healthcare, food, and education remained at the top. So donors were really responding to what they perceived to be the biggest needs caused by COVID.
Great. That's amazing. 30 triple the giving.
Yeah.
So people are stepping up. I mean, when there is a crisis, there's a time of need. As we said before, everybody really steps up. So John, should we jump into questions from our audience, from attendees? And
you bet. Well, first of all, Kelly, thank you for answering the first question right out of the gate. Kevin, it's great to see Community First again stepping up the plate, and with the new hire for Colorado Gives Day. That's great. So thank you. And so for Joshua, you addressed some of this sectors, which sectors have benefited. I would totally agree with what you're saying in terms of where people are seeing need, food banks and social services. I will throw this out. If you look at the data, you still see increases, particularly anecdotally with certain nonprofits, certain groups, and usually that's aligned with how engaged they are with the current donor base. So yes, an arts theater company may not be perceived as needy as a food bank unless they're having a conversation with their donor saying, you know what, we're working with, we're trying to bring in kids that are homeless to, experience theater or to provide virtual theater, that kind of thing. So I would just throw that out there as something to keep in mind, and don't write yourself off just because you're not an immediate social service need or something like that. Matt, I mean, I think we're experiencing that with our clients. We're seeing that engaging volunteers, having your story, having the impact, being in a format digital. And so when we say digital, we're talking about social media, you're talking about a website. When we say digital, we're talking emails. Are you personalizing your emails? Are you doing these things that move your relationship, which previously might have been through an event, into more of the realm of digital, which, for the foreseeable future, that's where we're at. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that message of impact, but how you can carry that forward and carrying it, as you mentioned, on social media, it's engaging people from every channel. It's no longer just, engaged through event, engaged through mail, but it's using all those, the multi or omni-channel approach. And let's not forget artificial intelligence, which is really becoming a very important part of the fundraising mix, whether it's outreach or data analysis. So again, these trends are just going to continue. So I really press upon people to think about how they can introduce them into their organization, and you can slowly do it, slowly test it, and minimize that risk. But there's certainly a lot of success out there that organizations are seeing.
Yeah, and I would also add, Kelly, I commend you for your partnership with Storyvine. Matt and I met Kyle a year ago, and we thought, this is brilliant. This allows anybody with a cell phone and very, rudimentary knowledge of editing, I wouldn't even call it editing, just kind of clicking around to create a story that's very authentic. And what you shared with us earlier was just incredible. So, I would encourage everybody to reach out to Community First for help, or Storyvine, or, any other platform. But the idea is that you can take this upon yourself. Take a little bit of risk. It's scary. Believe me, Matt and I, when we started these back in March, there was plenty of risk there, and there still is. You feel a little like you're trying to run a production company, but the tools are available. And I think from the videos we saw earlier, it was incredible. And we're seeing increases, and it shows. So hats off. Kelly, did you have anything to add?
I think another area that we're seeing an increase in funding, and we should all be aware and thinking about how we can weave this into our work, is really around civic engagement, especially around the Black Lives Matter movement and the work that so many organizations are doing to end systemic racism. I think we're seeing increases in giving to those organizations and an interest on the part of donors in how they can support organizations who are working to make a more just and equitable society for all of us.
Yeah, and definitely, if you look at the data, on election years, you see a spike in not just political giving, political activism, but also nonprofit giving, because it stands to reason. After November, people still want to be engaged. Yeah. Black Lives Matter and racial injustice, we're seeing finally being, I shouldn't say finally, but continue to be addressed. I think it's critical, though, that, and we advise this to clients all the time, this enthusiasm you don't want to lose, and don't make it a one and done. And so if somebody's giving you a $50, $100 gift, or is making a monthly contribution, take the time to engage them. It doesn't mean you don't think about your other donors, but again, don't make it a one and done for them.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from the audience, from our attendees, if they're seeing an increase in new donors, or their retention went up, or former donors, that had kind of fallen off the map, lapsed donors have come back, and if any organizations are seeing that.
In the meantime, I would love to get Nancy's questions. Nancy's question about Community First: will they be offering grants to the Jeffco Hope Fund?
Yeah, so we will do another round of Jeffco Hope Fund funding in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It'll look different from the first two rounds, and we're really looking at what the CARES legislation is funding and what are some complementary areas of funding that we can support to really make sure that the community thrives. So more to come on that.
Okay. Excellent.
If I can ask a question of our esteemed panelists, and I would include myself in that, but anyway, what do you guys see happening in spring? Are we going to see a resurgence of events? Or is it going to go slow? Do you think people are going to wait till the fall? How is cultivation and stewardship of donors going to be happening in the next 6 months? If you guys don't mind whipping out your crystal ball.
I don't imagine we're going to have a lot of events in the spring. I think people are still going to be a little bit wary. I think people will still be leveraging Zoom and other digital means to connect with donors. I do think once we can safely be outside, we'll start to see some more in-person gatherings, but I don't imagine a lot in spring. But I'd love to hear if Matt sees something different.
No, I agree, Kelly. It's I don't think we're going to see many events, in-person events in the spring. I think that's going to be all the way to the fall, and probably some type of quasi in-person online events. People are now used to Zoom. They're on Zoom. I think I'd say there's no donor fatigue right now, but I'd say there's Zoom fatigue for sure. How many events can you go on Zoom? So I think in the spring, if you have an event, you're going to have to really get creative, go past the digital. I don't know if what I really wonder for our audience is how many people are just doing like giving days during the spring and not having like a physical event where you've got to do something online and just, higher ed giving days, things like that. And that those appear to be effective. Like you don't need to bring in the MC and have an actual full event, that you can just do some kind of non, related online event. It can be like something like a giving day in the spring. So those are some things I think we'll see a lot more of. But yeah, I think it's going to be until the fall before things go in person. I do wonder though if we're going to see this whole huge pent up demand in the summer, and then everybody's going to be like, I have to get out, I have to get in person and see people.
If people are interested in giving days, we can leverage the Colorado Gives platform to support those giving days year round. And we still have incredibly low credit card processing fees. I think the lowest you'll find in the industry, and you can use the platform for your particular giving days. The other thing that we just implemented are called super campaigns. So if there's several organizations who have sort of a similar mission and you want to collectively reach out to donors, you can create a super campaign to support your collective work.
Very cool. Can you talk a little bit more about the super campaign?
Yeah. So I'm going to have to, like, the technology and the technical aspects, Jenny on our staff can help you walk through that. But we were talking to some food banks earlier in the year on how we could just put all of the food banks on one page and push it out to donors, and either let donors give collectively to a fund and then they distribute it, equal shares to those food banks, or they could choose a particular food bank if they really just wanted to give to that food bank. But that's what a super campaign does. So you actually just, instead of just one fundraising page, you create a bigger fundraising page, and you can put more nonprofits on it to support a particular cause.
That's really cool. I could see that also really effective in the arts as well.
Yeah.
Arts organizations, and then mix it up with some really creative ideas.
Also, Matt and Kelly, I wanted to mention a couple of digital ways of volunteering, helping out. And I'm going to put this one in the, go ahead and put it in the chat box here. And it's Project Helping. And it's basically, you're at home, what can you do? You can't go volunteer. Well, they send a box to you, and be it a children's hospital, a veteran, animal shelter, you name it. It gives some really cool, and I just put it in there, Project Helping. Really cool elements of how you can leverage your time, your ability, your creativity, and then you just send the box back. I think it's a minimum. They have a range of contributions, anywhere from $40 to $100 or something, but it's really slick. So I'd encourage people to either go there themselves, check it out, and if you're talking to people that want to help, that have the ability, that want to be safe, send them to this website, have them check it out.
Yeah, it's really great. I think one of the things you see with corporations, when corporations donate, they usually tie it to their employees' volunteerism. So this is a great way to continue to engage corporations in both volunteerism and giving. And I think if you were interested in receiving support from Kind Hub through some of their Kind Kits, they are incredibly innovative. They're always willing to try new things. So reach out to them and see if there's some sort of partnership that you could create.
Great. And the other one was Catch a Fire. This one's a little different. It is your skill set. So, if you happen to be really great at woodworking, or well, maybe it's a professional skill, you're a great accountant. There are endless varieties of nonprofits that need your help. And this is a great hub for it. And so I would check that out as well.
Yeah. So if you are a Jeffco nonprofit, we created a Catch a Fire account for 100 Jeffco nonprofits, made it free to them. And Catch a Fire is essentially the matchmaker. So they have on the one side professionals who have specific skill sets that they want to donate. And on the other side, they have nonprofits who have specific projects that would benefit from skill sets of a professional. And then they do the matchmaking. The nonprofit gets to interview several of the professionals and pick the individual that they think works best for them. And then they go on and the individual donates their time to help them complete the project. And we've had really, really great response from the nonprofit sector, being really excited and happy about the services that are being provided through Catch a Fire.
Nice. So important right now because it's so hard to engage volunteers in this, in your COVID environment. And, as you mentioned, corporations really want to get their employees out volunteering. A lot of our clients really struggle in how to figure this out and how to create these volunteer opportunities. So, Kind Hub and Catch a Fire, thank you for, really helping us figure this out and providing these opportunities for kind of volunteerism, either virtually or in other means.
Before we wrap up here, Rebecca had a good question. It's kind of a nice segue into this. How can you, move from events into the digital space, reaching out to donors? Another way is, I think it's Matt ThankView that you shared with me, with one of our colleagues. Yeah. Rebecca had sent it to what an organization she's working with. But basically, it's a very personalized thank you to donors. I think those elements are incredibly powerful. The time that you were previously spending working on events, and so now you have time to look through your list of donors and find that person that's been giving you consistently over the years, that's never had a personalized thank you in a way that they're, that would be meaningful to them. So I think there's some vehicles out there like that you could explore, and use Storyvine or something like that. But there's a lot of different tools out there, and there's going to be even more coming up. I think even as we get through COVID, people are going to learn the advantages of reaching out to that donor that maybe lived 500 miles away and it wasn't worth, meeting in person. Now we have the tools available.
Yeah, it's a great point. ThankView is a great tool, a great platform. When you look at giving and a giving officer, a fundraiser, like that position's just morphed over the last year. It's almost like journalism, where, you just had a writer and went out and did the beat and the report and wrote the story. Now they have to have a camera and be able to do the video. I think that's, fundraising, the frontline fundraisers almost going down that line where ThankViews kind of can create these videos and these thank yous and these engaging, impactful activities. So you're almost, cultivating donors year round through platforms like ThankView and really, just that giving cycle. So it's, I think, can be really critical to fundraisers' work.
Kelly, Janelle asked a question about the time and investment budget, but also staff time of taking a video and trying to create these stories for donors. What are your thoughts on that?
That's why we made it free for nonprofits. You're absolutely right, Janelle. It's a big expense. And the whole point behind Colorado Gives is how do we create a platform that can serve all nonprofits and reduce the expenses of individual nonprofits? Same with Storyvine. We purchased the subscription so that we could make it free to nonprofits so they could try it out and see if it does justify the investment of time. It is a little bit of time. I think we can't pinpoint Storyvine as the only thing that was different in Colorado Gives Day 2020, but we certainly did get great reception to the Storyvine videos, and we were able to show them on Denver 7 and other media channels. So we think it justified our expense, and we were laughing. We saw such great demand and uptake from the nonprofits that we broke Storyvine 4 different times. Like, we had too much volume going through. They were able to fix it pretty quickly. But I think that, to your point, Janelle, that's why we made it free. So people can really minimize that upfront investment, give it a try, see what works, and see if it's something they want to continue to do.
Those are good problems to have. You know, we say that with clients all the time, and then somebody that says, I've got too many donors. They're like, oh, is that a real problem? But the other thing I was going to add, I'll say from my own personal experience of moving into the video realm, if you look at, you know, our work back in March when we were getting up and running, we weren't as good. We get a little bit better. And I would say this to everyone that's hesitant. And again, I had that fear too. Believe me, I don't enjoy, or I didn't initially enjoy being on video. I enjoy this.
Oh, you can't get them off.
Yeah. But what I was going to say that is, you know, trial and error is important. And so do your first video, send it out to a group of donors, maybe a small pool, learn what works, and then do V2, V3, V4. I think that's what we try to encourage nonprofits all the time, is that you don't learn until you try. And so try the video element. And, you know, Community First will help you. Reach out to others that you know. Matt and I are always willing to take a call and help people through this. So I would just encourage people to not just budget their time, but also budget your patience.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, it's okay if it's off or it's a little grainy or whatever. It's the message that you're delivering, and that's the important part.
All right, we have a message with, oh, how do you get involved with thank views? Matt, you might be more familiar with it, but I think it's just a sign up. They have subscriptions. They have different kind of price points.
Yeah, it's a private company, so you can just go to their site, check it out.
But it's very budget friendly. I think some of them are as cheap as $50 a month, where you could send out 3 or 4 videos, and then you can unlimited number of donors you can send it to.
Yeah.
All right. One other question that we haven't talked about, and we don't have too much time though, is that looking into 2021, where do you think you know, elements like DAFs, plan giving, all that, those more complex gifts are going to go? Because Kelly, you said it earlier, Matt, you did too. We saw a little bit of a wealth transfer into these advisory funds. Do you think that'll continue?
I do. I think the wealth transfer will continue, and donor advised funds make it really easy for individuals who are charitably inclined to roll some of those complex gifts into a donor advised fund, and then create an easy way to give back to the community. One of the things we've heard is sometimes you have someone who's built a business, they've been an entrepreneur, they get ready to sell that business. They don't want to build another business by starting a foundation, but a donor advised funds allows them to engage their family in philanthropy over the longer term without having to build up a new company, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And, you know, I think planned giving's on the rise. More people are writing their wills right now, unfortunately, with this environment. But that does give us more opportunities to get in people's wills and create bequests. There's a few tax advantages right now to some trusts and things like that. I don't want to get into it because I'm not a tax expert, but Colorado Planned Giving Roundtable, if you're not a member, check it out, because that's the place to learn about all tools related to planned giving. An excellent organization that's really on the forefront of gift planning and everything that comes along with it. But I do think that, you know, we didn't talk about the Tax Act of 2019, which is renewed for which was 2020, renewed for 2021, which allows that $300 deduction per head of household. So if there's 2 head of households, it could be up to $600 deduction just right off the top for charitable contributions. I think that will help fuel some things too. And then again, as I mentioned, there are some elements of the Tax Act that are helpful with gift planning and trusts.
And I think sometimes with planned gifts, those individuals really want to create an endowment. They want a legacy to support the organization. So if you need help thinking about how you have those conversations about planned gifts and create a vehicle to accept those gifts, maybe through an endowment, that's something we'd absolutely love to help you with. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Great resource.
All right, I think that's about it. We probably need to wrap up, let everybody start their day or continue, depending on what time of day they started. But thank you very much for joining us. To everybody that attended. Thank you very much, Kelly, to joining us. And Matt, you have, what do you see upcoming philanthropy? I think we have one last slide or just some housekeeping. This recording will be sending out to everyone that registered, whether they attended or not. And then we'll post it on social media as well. Anything else?
Yeah, just so you can check out the rest of our webinars on the Make Philanthropy Work website and under fundraising during COVID-19 in the expertise section. So we'll have our 9 there, and we'll have our 10th up soon. And we'll, of course, send this out to everybody. But
Kelly, you're like our Jennifer Aniston recurring guest on our show.
Thank you. I love getting to talk with you guys. This is really helpful and thrilled to be a part of it.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week. Hopefully we'll have a nice settled week ahead of us without any stuff going on. All right. Well, everybody take care and be safe out there.
Thank you.